I'm Josie from Funky Needlework, and this is week three of the scrap quilt method that we're doing, and this is the couch quilts that we're going to give away. I've actually pieced mine together, which I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to angle the camera downwards in a minute because I want to show you something else. So I'll just, if I go backwards like this, whee! Okay, so that is all the different chunks, the pieces, the strips, whoops, the table wobbled, put together. I'm just looking for the rolls. So these are the rolls. I used paper rolls. I used my big box of scraps, which, as you can see, is just as full as it was when I started. I might have topped it up a little bit, but I think I'm going to use some more of those scraps to make the back of it. So this is the front. I think it looks beautiful, and I'll make another one for the back, and then it'll be reversible, and then it's still going to cost me nothing at all. I was going to show you something else this week, but I've had a question, and the question was about the wadding, because I talked about piecing the wadding together. So I'm going to angle the camera down a minute. I'm going to show you how I do my wadding. So this is scrap wadding that I have around. So this is the bits that are cut off when you're making a bag and you're making all kinds of other lovely small projects. I keep the bits like this. This one's got a very dodgy wobbly edge there, you can see. And so what I would do in that case is I would trim it off to make a straight edge, or possibly put one wadding piece over the other, cut through them both at the same time, take away the scraps. If you need me to show you that, let me know, and I'll do another video on how to do that. But I'm just going to, for now, I'm just going to cut two pieces of wadding. So I'm going to angle this down with a clever, whoa, look at that. Oh, I'm getting clever at this. So I'm just going to randomly cut a piece off. Now your board might get a bit fluffy, and I'll do another little thing on how to get rid of that later on, because that's in there now until I do the clever thing that I'm going to show you. I also want to show you, okay, so that's one piece, and I need, well, I'll cut it in two and then stitch it back together. Okay, so I'm going to stitch this back together. Sounds a bit odd, but there we go. So we've got two pieces there, and I'm going to stitch them together. Now, if I go to the sewing machine and start stitching them like that, that's not going to work because I'll get lumpy quilt. If I go to the sewing machine and just start stitching them like that, it's not going to work either because they'll drift. So what I do is I use a scrap of fabric. It doesn't have to be, I mean, this is leftover fabric that I have no plans for. And again, I'm not even going to use a straight piece. I'm just going to use literally a strip like this. So I would lay one piece on the top, like that. Whoops. And then the next piece on beside it. Now then, because it's got a little bit of grip on the fabric, that is going to just, you might want to pin it a little bit, but actually it's only one end, which is this end, that you need to focus on, because you can adjust it as it's going into the machine. So the machine, I'm going to bring it on the camera and see if I can angle this. So this is my machine that I'm going to use today, and this is, it's got all kinds of fancy stitches here, but actually I'm just going to go for a plain zigzag machine. Now the foot I've got on is a zigzag foot, so remember to take your 1/4 inch off, so otherwise you'll break your needle. But I'm going to set it to a 1/4 inch stitch, not a 1/4 inch stitch, a wide stitch. I'm just going to, right, so I'll set it to zigzag, there, and then I'm going to make it a little bit wider, longer if I can, sorry. So I'll make it, because I want a nice big stitch. Okay, so that's how I do it on my machine. A lot of machines you can do that, some of them you can't. So, oh great, okay, you can see. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to see on the sewing machine on the camera, but you can. So I'm going to put this in there. I'm going to lower the foot down always start sewing with the needle in. I'm going to slow it down slightly because I want you to be able to see this as it's coming out of the machine. Now I'm going to feed this in. Now I've used a dark thread so that hopefully, fingers crossed, you can see how smooth this comes out. Okay, do you see that? That's lovely. Now if I turn this around this way a little bit, fingers crossed. Now I've never stitched sideways before, but this is a novel idea. We'll have a little go. And I'm just making sure that the line here goes down the middle of the foot. If I go off a little bit, it doesn't really matter. They're not overlapping, they're just butting up against one another. All the way down there. Now you can use all of your tiny little scraps like this. I like to make sure they're about the same weight. I have been known to use different kinds of wadding. So sometimes I use 100% cotton, sometimes I use 80-20. And if I've got a good piece of fleece that feels about the same weight, the same thickness, I can incorporate that as well, because there, as we say at Funky Needlework, there are no rules. So I'll just get to the end of here, I'll go a little bit faster. Smooth out the fabric underneath. There we go. Okay, so needle out, work out. There we go. Okay, so I'll put the machine back over to the side. And there we have two pieces of wadding joined. Now this fabric on the back, doesn't matter, that can stay in there. As long as it's not a really, really dark fabric. Oops, let's just put this back up again. As long as it's not a really dark fabric and a light quilt top, you'll be fine. You could use paper as well, so you could use the paper rolls, but then you've got to pull them all off again, which is fun, but messy. You should have seen that it looked like somebody had been snowing bits of paper in here when I took the quilt back and off the other day. It was fun though, I have to say. I was going to show you the back. Let me show you the back of this now. A lot of people say don't look at the back of my quilt, but I quite like the look of the back of this. Look at that. That's lovely. Not any particular direction for those seams to go. They'll go whichever way they want to. Again, that's the front. So what I'm going to do this week is stitch lots of pieces of wadding together like this, and then I will sandwich it. Should I sandwich on live? Maybe. Yep, I'll show you how to sandwich it next week, and then the week after I'll quilt it and bind it. How does that sound? Okay, that's great. And then eventually I'll get around to showing you this, which is something that is going live on the Create and Craft store on, I think it's the 12th of August, I think I'm on next time. So that's a bit of a sneak preview as to what I'm taking on the show then. And you'll be able to get that and a whole load more stuff. Okay, so this is the third week of the Crumb Roll quilt, Crumb Rolls couch quilts. I'm going to give them away to somebody to make them warm, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get a lovely, lovely quilt to give to somebody. Thank you. Bye.